Hello, welcome to the AGD Advanced tutorial. It's a long time since I've done one of these, and many versions of AGD have been released since then. For this particular tutorial I'm going to use 4.6. Okay, in this video we're going to look at bullets and how to get your player to fire them and how to detect if they hit something. Now, bullets fall into two main categories depending on the type of game you're going to make, and the type of game you're going to make will dictate which type of bullet you're going to use. In this section we're going to talk about lasers, and these can be used if your player only fires left or right. If you want to fire bullets in other directions, then you have to wait for the next video where we talk about that. Okay, lasers, let's get started. To demonstrate this, I've built a small single screen game. It's not like the previous ones, so we're starting afresh really. Hopefully you can see the screen here. I've used two main building blocks. Oops, wrong one. I've used two main building blocks, both set to solid wall. One is a bit of a green blob that looks like grass, and the other one is some sort of red blobs to go under it. And the game screen that I've created looks something like that. You can pause the video and set it up if you want to similar, which will help with the tutorial. Let's get on with it then. I've also created some sprites. The first sprite is of a little spaceman with a gun, and there are 4 frames of animation which I'll skip through now, and you can copy them if you want. That's frame 0, frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, and back to frame 1 again. And I've created obviously the other sprite walking the other way, and you can copy and paste that sprite and just flip them horizontally using the H key. And the other sprite I've created is just a static alien that we're going to shoot at some point, but not yet. Okay, so we have a single screen game. We have a little sprite that can run about and jump. Now, if you want to find out how to make your character run about and jump, you can look at the previous videos. But what we have here is a little man that walks left and right and can jump. And that's pretty much all it can do at the moment. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a slight diversion here and give you a little tip. If you watch the animation of the player, you'll notice that when he stops moving, the frame of animation varies, and it could be with his leg in the air, which looks a little bit silly. So what we're going to do is make it so that whenever you're not moving, it always diverts back to that frame, which is frame 0. Okay, first to do that, we need to go in the events section, and we need to create, just move that mouse pointer, we need to go to where we're initializing the game. We need to set a variable, do it right this time. Okay, and we're going to set a variable, and I'm going to call it K, and set it to 0. Control A to save. All of this was how to use this particular part of AGD was covered in the previous video, so if you skip back there you'll see what's going on. Just for your information, in the player control section I've set key 0 for right, key 1 for left, key 3 for jumping, and if can go down then your player will fall. All that happens here, I'll briefly skip through this. If you've pressed the right key, it'll set the image to the right facing image. If you can move right, it'll move the sprite right, and we have an animation counter that slows the animation down. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check, I'm going to set K equals 0 right at the very beginning, and as you press each key, I'm just going to make K equal 1 on each of the keys for moving left and right. Save that. Oops. Save that, and then right at the very end I'm going to check to see if K equals 0, and if K equals 0, which means you're not pressing a key, then I'm going to set the frame to 0. Oops. If I could spell. So what that will do is it will check to see if you're not pressing a key, and always set the frame back to 0, so you don't stop your man with his leg in the air to make him look stupid. So there you go. Jump up and down. There we we go. So he always ends up on that last frame no matter what you do. Okay, right, on to firing lasers. The first thing you need to do is make sure that the game preference is set to particles, and this is done in the miscellaneous section. So if you press I, you will see various things, and we're looking at this one here, the specialize. This has, if you press S, you can loop through. This has effects, adventure, or particles. To make use of the laser, you need to set it to particles. Okay, let's get some lasers done then. So first thing we need to do is go back into the events editor. Okay, so we're going to add the firing routine now. So we go into the player control, and for the right key press, we're going to set the direction to 1, which is a standard player variable, and for the left key press, we're going to set the direction to 0. And then further down, we're going to add a section to check for the fire key being pressed, which in this case is 4. And what we're going to do then is, this will save a little bit of memory. So instead of checking, all we need to do is put laser direction. Now the laser command accepts 2 options, 0 and 1 for left or right. But because we've set the direction of the player here, we can just use the direction as the variable for the laser. That's a little bit of a cheat, but it seems to work fine. So let's have a look and see what happens if we save and run that game. So if he's moving right, he will fire. Moving left, he will fire. And of course, if he jumps up, he will fire. Now, if you hold the fire key down, you'll see that that's a lot of laser. And if you get lots of other things moving about on screen, that is going to slow down quite a bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to slow it down. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use a count to make sure that you can only fire, oops, go back, so many lasers at a time. So first thing we do is go into the game initialization. We're going to set another variable. I'm going to use L, and why not? And what we're going to do then in the second main loop is we're going to put a counter check. Okay, so what we have in the main loop is if L is greater than 0, we're going to subtract 1 from L. This is a more flexible counting routine rather than having a fixed count routine like the animation, where we say if it equals 10, for example, then subtract, or if it equals 4, then subtract 1. What this allows us to do is have variable counts, which is useful if you want to increase firepower later on in the game. What we're going to do is we're going to only allow the laser to fire if L equals 0, which means we can set the pause in between the fires to whatever we want, and all this will do is count down. So once that's in, we go into the player routine, and we're going to just check to make sure that if L equals 0, it's going to let us fire the laser, but we're also now going to set L to a value, let's say 20, which means the countdown will start because L is greater than 20. When it hits 0, it will let you fire the laser again. So let's just have a look and see what that looks like. So I'm holding the fire key down, and that's the rate of fire that you've got, the maximum rate of fire. Okay. Now, obviously, if you want to speed that up a little bit, all you do is you decrease the value of L, so we can set it to 10. What I'm going to do as well, just to see what's happened, is we're going to add sound effect, although you might not hear it on here. Oh, there you go. Okay, so we've now got our little man firing a laser, but there you go, you can't kill that yet. So the next thing is to do the collision detection. So let's have a look at that. Okay, so what we need to do is just look at this, and this is our alien that we're going to shoot, and we've set it to type 1. sprite type 1. So if we now go into sprite type 1, and we're going to detect, see if it's being killed by lasers, and we simply just do a collision check, but we do it with 10. Normally you would put the sprite type there. For example, 0 is the player, and 1 to 8 are the rest of the sprite types, but because we're using a laser, we use 10 as a detection. So if we're going to do that, then we're going to put in a small explosion of 8 particles, add a beep, and then we're going to remove the sprite. And because we're using the particles specialization, the explode will work. So let's see if we can destroy this little alien chap. There we go. Gone. Let's moving up. There you go. So you can now kill the little alien. Okay, so that's how to create laser fire left and right, and how to detect it and destroy aliens. In the next video, which is coming very shortly, we are going to look at the other method of firing, which is to use sprites as bullets, and there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages to doing that. So until next time, thanks for watching.